Hey there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. Today I'm going to be wrapping up the month of December of 2022 with you because I did post like mid-month in December, half of the reads that I had for the month, and now I need to update you on all of the reads that I had from like December 15th up to the end of the month. And I do have to say that, yeah, the first half of the month I recorded that video, so I'm going to post it in the cards above if you want to check it out to see which books I read then, because I did have a successful first half of the month with a lot of interesting reads that I picked up. And then the later half of December, I had a few mediocre reads. I did not have a blast reading the books that I picked up. There were a couple of books that I did like, but yeah, let me just dive in to tell you which books those are. A couple of them are holiday romances. I picked up a couple of billionaire romances and I do not regret it. I'm going to mention why in a moment when I discuss them. And yeah, let me just dive in with the first one. The first book that I finished is by N.R. Walker. This author, I picked up their first book, at least the first book that I read by them in November, which is called The Weight of It All, and I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars, so I vowed to myself to pick up more of their works, so I did, and I'm really happy that I did because the Christmas themed book that I picked up is called The Christmas Wishlist, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. The book focuses on Jaden, who is this Aussie chef. He's from Australia and he's trekking through the United States, kind of picking odd jobs to do here and there, and he finds this listing for a job in Montana in the mountains where there is going to be this new guest house type of chalet opening up. And around Christmas time they're going to need a chef to accommodate their opening crowd. So he goes there and he finds out that the owner of this guest house is Cass, who is recently divorced. He has kids, but he has divorced his wife because he has come out as being gay. And the two of them, so yeah, I didn't mention it, it's a male-male romance. So the two of them, they're very much opposites that attract, because Jaden is very outgoing, very social, while Cass is a bit more kind of closed off, reluctant, and not very social. Even with people that he has lived with for most of his life, he's not very open and even friendly with them. So yeah, they're very much opposites that attract, and I really do find that they complemented each other very well, and it was really very holiday themed because they were preparing for Christmas. The two kids that Cass has also make an appearance, and they have an amazing connection with Jaden as well. Even though the book is not very long, I really found that it was very well rounded and I really liked it. So I gave it 4 stars, and I definitely recommend it if you want to pick up a holiday romance, even though it's January, or maybe you can add it to your TBR for next holidays. Next up, we have a romance that is by Lauren Runlow, and the book is called Our Song. I picked this book up on a whim. I did not kind of research it too much. I just saw that I had it on audio, and I just wanted to pick up something that I could listen to while I was cycling, because I was at my parents' in Amsterdam and you cycle everywhere there. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to need something to listen to while I'm going to and fro. So yeah, I picked this book up, and it's a rock star romance where we have the heroine Sarah. She was almost going to make it within the music world. She was in a band, but then something tragic happened that made her move back to her hometown. And she lives with her family that is very religious and very strict. And she is also the kindergarten teacher for this school that they have there in this small town. And the new year has just begun, and there is this new kid, this new girl that joins her group, and it turns out that she's the daughter of like the biggest rock star that is current at the moment. His name is Adam, but nobody knows that he has a child. He's kind of trying to keep it on the down low that he has a child. So it's a romance between herself and this rock star, and there is this hint of her kind of having this very difficult relationship with herself, because she wants to still make it in the music world, and she's kind of almost envious of his position, and she's like, I cannot be with someone who is in the music world because they remind me of everything that I don't have. So that was something that I didn't particularly enjoy. And that's why I gave this book 3 stars. It just wasn't the type of story that I enjoy very much, because it also involves insta love very much, and that almost never works out for me very well. So yeah, it was a solid book, but I would say it just wasn't a favorite, so I gave it 3 stars. Next up, we have one of those billionaire stories that I was talking about. The book is called Think Outside the Boss, and it's by Olivia Hayle. I gave this book 3.5 stars, rounding it up to 4, because I really did enjoy the premise of it. We have an age gap, boss employee, billionaire romance, and the book starts off with the heroine receiving an invitation via mail, but the invitation is addressed to the previous owner of the house where she lives. But she decides to open it up, and she sees that it's an invitation to this BDSM club that is very exclusive. So she decides to pretend to be that woman and go to this party that she's invited to, or that other person is invited to. And she goes there and she meets a guy who is very much kind of like an enigma, and yeah, she has this wild night with him. He's a bit older than her, and they have an amazing night together, only for her to find out later on that he is her new boss. So it was an interesting story. It started off really with a bang, and it kind of sizzled out in the end. That's why I didn't give it more than 3.5 to 4 stars, but I definitely did enjoy it. It was a fun time, and yeah, if you're interested in a bit of a lighter read but still kind of hot and steamy, this book might be for you. Next up, I picked up 2 books by Phillips. These books are part of a series. The first one is called Dare to Resist. This one focuses on an athlete who has become an agent. His name is Austin. He is going to have a surgery, and he needs to hire someone who is going to take over his duties while he is recuperating. So he hires Quinlan. She is amazing at her job and at her duties, so he's very much in awe of her. So he is attracted also to her, and knows that he cannot act up upon his feelings for her because she now works for him. But what happens is one day there is a surprise baby that is left on his doorstep, and he doesn't know what to do, so he enlists Quinlan's help to help him figure out what to do. And they have this bonding of looking after this child, but then he has reservation as to whether something is going to work out between them, because Quinlan explains that she does not want to have children, and now he obviously has a child, so he's a bit torn up about what to do. I enjoyed it, kind of. I gave it 3 stars because it was an okay read. It wasn't a wow read, so I gave it 3 stars, and I was intrigued to see what the next book would bring to the table. So I picked up the second book, which focuses on Austin's brother. The book is called Dare to Tempt, and it's a fake dating sports romance where Damon, who is Austin's brother, he is the quarterback for an NFL team, and he's very much straight-laced. He typically does not have any kind of drama around him, but then at the end of book 1 we find out that he has been caught using enhancing substances, so basically doping, and he claims that he did not use anything to his awareness. So he hires this private investigator. Her name is Evie, and they pretend to date. So they have a fake dating arrangement so that she can get into his inner circle and find out what happened. So the premise sounded really good to me, and especially because the PI in the situation is a woman, I really found that interesting. So I wanted to see how I would like it. I liked it, but again, it wasn't anything to write home about, so I wouldn't say that it was a favorite of mine. So I gave it 3 stars, and yeah, it was a decent romance, but just not too special or anything. Next up, I picked up an audiobook that I really enjoyed. The book is called Dear Heart, I Hate You, and it's by J. Sterling. I gave this book 4 stars, but now thinking about it, I think it maybe deserves more, maybe 4.5 stars. The book is about 2 people, Jules and Cal, who attend this event. I don't know that they attend the same event, but they're at the same hotel where they're there for work. and they meet each other at this bar and they hit it off right away. What we find out about them at the beginning is that both of them are workaholics, both of them are not looking for a relationship, both of them are very much looking only for like a one night thing without any commitment, and they really hit it off. So they have an amazing night together, and then when they each respectively go back to their lives, Cal is in Boston, she is in California, they find out that they're looking for each other the whole time, texting and wanting to speak to each other. So they really start to develop feelings for each other while they have a long distance thing. And it's a story that like a premise that I haven't encountered too much, where people are trying to make a long distance relationship work. So that is something that really intrigued me and that I wanted to see whether it was done well. And I do believe that it was done really well in this story, because you really see the difficulties of trying to make a long distance relationship work, but also struggling with not losing yourself and not wanting to make a compromise with your own future, so you don't lose out on what you've been working for your whole life. So I really enjoyed this book, and yeah, I really recommend it. So the next book I picked up because, if I have to be honest, 2022 was the book for hockey romances for me. I read so many hockey romances that I absolutely love, that I was like, okay, I really want to continue on with my sports romances and see whether I'm going to find more that I love as much as the ones that I've read, but maybe not focusing too much only on hockey, because otherwise I'm going to get maxed out. At least that's what I'm feeling. So I wanted to pick up another sports romance that did not involve hockey, and I found one on Storytel which focuses on baseball. And I have not read that many books that focus on baseball, so I was intrigued. The book is called Falling for the Rookie by Trish Williford, and it focuses on a woman who is an absolute fan for this baseball team. She has season tickets for their games, and on the first game of the season, there is this rookie who is starting for the first time for their team, and he hits a ball that hits her square in the head. So yeah, basically she becomes a media sensation because of that. She needs to go to a hospital because she blacked out, and he goes to the hospital to check on her, and immediately sparks fly between them. So he asks her out on a date. It was really cute at the beginning, especially that whole situation was very swoon worthy, you know, the meet cute between the two. But it just did not develop into something even more swoon worthy that it would be like memorable for me. I think that also kind of the plot twist in the end was something that kind of came out of left field and surprised me in not such a pleasant way. That's why I gave this book 3 stars. But if you're in for like a baseball romance and you want to try it out and see whether you're going to like it, you can do so and let me know whether you liked it. The last 2 books of the month I read because one of them is extremely hyped at the moment, and the other one I think has been hyped up for quite some time, and I hadn't picked it up, so I needed to read it to see whether I loved it. The first one is Restore Me by J.L. Seegars. This book was hyped up by, I think, Cheyenne from That Tall Book Girl, and also Caitlin from The Love Librarian. And I just found out that Bree from In Love and Words said that it was her favorite book of 2022. So a lot of people really loved that book, and I really wanted to see whether it was something that I would enjoy as well. And it just came out on audio on Storytel as well, so I just went for it. And I really did like it, but maybe because it was hyped up so much, I had very high expectations of it, and I did not love it as much as everyone else did. This is maybe one of the situations where a hype can kind of ruin the mood for you, especially if you've heard about what the book is about. And I really try to avoid it nowadays to find out what the book is about when I hear hype around it, because otherwise I get my expectations up and then this happens. I did give it 4 stars, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing romance, but I think that the angst within it was a bit too much at times. Even though I love angsty romances and slow burn romances, it was just something that maybe worked against me in this specific instance as a reader. So I think it's more a me thing than the book's fault. In the book, we have a forbidden romance between a woman who has become a widow. Her name is Sloane, and her late husband's best friend Dominic. And the book is very much a hate to love story, and it's very angsty. We find out that Dominic has hated Sloane for like their whole relationship, and he has reasons to. And Sloane has never understood what his problem was, and slowly but surely she finds out what it was. And yeah, it was a very solid romance, don't get me wrong, it was an amazing book, but maybe it's just that I read it at the wrong time, or just got my hopes up too much and didn't love it as much as I'd hoped. And then the last book is the one that I mentioned, has had hype around it for quite some time. The book is by Maise, and it's called Marriage for One. And I think I saw on Goodreads that almost everybody that I follow, all the booktubers that I follow, have given this book at least 4 stars, 4 or 5 stars. Everyone is loving it, so I don't know what is wrong with me, but I really didn't love this book. I gave it 3 stars. And I have to say that I also had the hardest time finishing this book. It took me like a solid week to finish it, where typically a book like that will take me maximum 2 days to finish. So I really was struggling with it. The book is about Rose, who she was engaged to this guy and he broke it off with her. And in the meantime, her uncle, who is like her closest family, he passes away, and he had an agreement with her to let her use like one of his buildings to start a coffee shop. But then in his inheritance, he explained that she will only get it if she gets married. And since her fiance just broke off things with her, she basically has invested in a building that is not going to be hers, so she has lost everything. And what happens is there is this lawyer who is part of the firm that is handling her uncle's will. And he takes her aside and he offers this kind of ludicrous idea of getting married to her without even knowing her. So they're essentially strangers who are going to get married, because he wants to help her out and get her that lease for at least a portion of the time that she was supposed to get it for. And she thinks that he's in it for the building, because in the will it says like after a certain amount of time the husband will get the building eventually. So there is a fake marriage involved, like a marriage of convenience, and strangers who become lovers, and very much opposites attract, very much grumpy sunshine, because Rose is very much a sunshine and Jack is a grump, and we have Rose and Jack, Titanic, everyone. I mean, the references are there, but I was kind of disappointed that they didn't watch the movie together. I don't know if it's a me thing, but that's something that kind of let me down. But the thing is, like I mentioned before, normally I'm very much a sucker for slow burn romances, very much a sucker for having angst in a book. But this book was really painfully slow for me. At times I really got bored. I found that it was repetitive, and I really hate it. I really hate it whenever a hero or heroine uses the other person's name the whole time. She was like in dialogue mentioning Jack's name like 5 times. I'm like, when I talk to my partner or when I talk to someone, I don't mention their name within a conversation of half an hour 5 times. It just makes it awkward. So kind of, and one more thing that really irked me is Rose. I felt like she was speaking in a teacher tone to Jack, like she was almost speaking to a child who needed to get schooled on something or reprimanded about something. So she was talking to him like that, a bit condescending. I don't know if that's the right word, but it really bugged me that people who are, I think, in their like late 20s or 30s, or I don't know how old they are, but they're definitely adults, that they're speaking to each other in that way. And he was quiet the whole time. He was not engaging in conversation too much. So I was like, how do people love this book so much? I don't get it. I don't know if it's a me thing, but really, I found that it was really dragging on. I found it very repetitive, and I really didn't get the connection between the two too much. So yeah, to be honest, I did not enjoy this. I did give it 3 stars because I don't think it deserves less than that, but still, it really was a letdown for me, if I have to be honest. If I had read this before, December, I probably would have included this in my biggest disappointments of the year video, but yeah, there's always next year, so I'm going to include it then. And yeah, basically not a favorite. Not a favorite, and I'm sorry about it. It hurts my heart to say. So this wraps up all of the books that I finished in the later part of December. It wasn't a very successful 15 days or 16 days that I had, if I have to be honest, because I have more 3-star reads than 4 or 5-star reads. I actually don't have any 5-star reads in that portion of the month, but I still enjoyed some of the books that I read. Please let me know if you've read any of the stories that I discussed and whether you liked them and whether I was wrong about Marriage for One. Please let me know what I missed there. And please also let me know which ones were your favorite reads of December. I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and have a happy, wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care and bye-bye.